Hello, welcome back. If you watched the previous video, you already know we have got pretty far with making over this room, but we're not done yet. Today we're going to be finishing the gallery wall, tackling a few more easy DIY projects, and finally putting this whole room together. So hopefully by the end of this video, this space actually comes together and I'll have a calm and cozy room that I actually enjoy spending time in. In the last video, I started by tackling some of the biggest issues in the room. There was no real focal wall, a lot of cluttered corners, and way too many visible wires. So the first thing I did was completely change the layout of the room, which already made a huge difference. Then I added this renter-friendly wallpaper accent to bring in some warmth and make the space feel a little more intentional. I also made curtains using some fabric I already had and built these side tables that are going to go next to the bed. And right at the end of the video, I tried something a little experimental and turned a cardboard box into a floating shelf. So today we're going to be finishing this wall along with a few new DIY projects. So hopefully by the end of this video, this room will actually feel like a completely different room from where we started. Okay, so it's going to be a long day today. I basically want to get everything done in the next 2 days. So the first project of the day is going to be making a custom frame for some art that I want to hang above the dresser. I'm using a frame that I already have as a base for this. I want to make it look like an ornate vintage frame. So I'm going to be sketching out the design first. And then once I'm happy with the design, I'll cut it out in 2 cardboard layers and glue it together so it creates some depth for the frame. And then I'm going to be sticking rope all along the edge of the frame so that creates a curve in the edge and adds some extra detailing. Once that dries, I'm going to be covering the entire thing in plaster to make it look like one solid piece. But I have to be mindful and not apply too much plaster because it's going to make the frame really heavy, and I'm mostly relying on just tape to hold the whole thing together. And once that dries completely, I will come back and paint it tomorrow. So this is the frame I'm starting with. It's just a basic plastic frame. I'm basically going to build another frame that sits on top of this and hides the plastic one underneath. I measured it out and cut a piece of cardboard to the same size, and then I started sketching the design just on one corner first so that I don't mess up the whole thing. Once I liked how that looked, I cut it out. And then I used that as a template to trace the rest of the sides. Honestly, this part was a little tedious, but it worked exactly how I wanted it to. Initially, I thought I'd do 2 layers of cardboard to add more depth, but once I actually saw it, it looked thick enough, so I just stuck with 1 layer. And then I got a little carried away. I completely forgot I wanted to add the rope detailing and just went straight in with the first coat of plaster. So I had to let that dry a little bit, and then I went back in with this thin rope along the outer edge of the frame. I just used hot glue to stick it down, making sure to follow the shape exactly as I cut it out. Once that was done, I covered the whole thing in plaster to make it look like one solid piece. I started off using a scraper, but for the corners I couldn't reach, I just used my hands. It actually helped a lot with getting those softer curved edges that I wanted. It looked a little messy at this stage, but I knew I could make the surface smooth with just a little bit of sanding, so I just kept going. And once everything was covered, I just left it to dry completely for about 24 hours. I accidentally deleted the clip where I showed this vase and explained what I'm doing, so here I am. I've had this glass vase for a while now. I've tried to make it work many times, but it just doesn't match my style. It feels a little too plain and boring. So I'm going to try covering it with plaster and then painting it to give it more of a ceramic look. Since this is glass, the ideal thing to do would be to lightly sand it first using a fine grit sandpaper. That would give the plaster a better surface to stick to. If you apply plaster directly like I'm doing, there are chances it might peel or chip over time. I know this and I'm still doing it anyway, so don't be like me. I'm applying very thin coats and letting it dry completely between each layer to make up for it. I'm also making sure it's not completely smooth and adding a little bit of texture in my last layers. While everything is drying, I just want to clean and declutter some things before they end up coming back or finding a new home. I moved this clothing rack here temporarily while I was clearing out the bedroom. I want to dismantle it and store it for now. It's really simple to assemble again whenever I need it. Next, I'm coming back to the room. There are a lot of things collected on this side of the room. So the first thing I want to do is empty out at least one of these drawers for my hair tools. Right now, everything is in this basket, which works, but then I have to find a place to put the basket itself, which I don't want to do. Moreover, I know for sure that I can clear out at least one of these because I genuinely don't even remember what's in it. I haven't used anything from it in over an year, which probably means that I don't even need it. It's 10 pm. I want to end the day by changing the bedding and the curtains. So it's the next day. I ended the day yesterday by changing the bedding and the curtains. It has already added so much color to the room and the room already looks so much brighter. Today I want to start off with the lighting. I got these paper lanterns from Amazon. They were actually really affordable. I got two of them for under 200 rupees. I also got these battery operated lights to go inside them. You can turn them on using this switch, or I can put it on auto mode. They have motion sensors, so they will automatically turn on every time I enter the room. The only downside to this is that I have to remember another thing that I need to charge. I don't know how much you can see, but it does the job. Anyway, I want to hang these from the ceiling. So I got these chains that can be interconnected to make a longer piece. I also got 10 of these. They were also really affordable and lightweight. And to hook these to the wall, I again got these no drill wall hooks. They had really good reviews, so I hope they stay up. And everything is pretty lightweight, so it should be fine. Be back. Cute. Let's put it up. I put up the lights just now. Everything is coming together so well. Next, I wanted to move the printer next to the desk. I wanted to put it on the organizer that was already there in my other room, but I don't think I like it. So what I'm going to do is just move the printer out of the room and keep it in my office space because everything looks too boxy and crowded and messy. That should free up some space. And after I organized all the wires in the last video, I had to rewire something. So all that cable organization has gone. I have to redo that. I just tried the frame that I was making yesterday and it looks so good. So I just have to paint that. I have to paint the vase. I have to paint the tabletop for the other side table. And yeah, I should have a new room by the end of today. I'm super excited. Let's go finish up all the DIYs and only the finishing touches will be left. First, I'm going to finish painting the tabletop with the checkered pattern so it matches with the other one. I've already shown this process before, so I won't be going into too much detail, but here's how it turned out. Next, coming back to the frame, I'm actually really happy with how this turned out. I'm a little surprised at how sturdy it is. Now I just need to paint it. I mixed a desaturated warm brown for it, so at least from a distance it looks a little like wood. I'm just using Fevicryl acrylic paint in the shade Indian Red for this. I will seal this with a matte sealant for durability, but I didn't have the time to do it this week. And now for the vase, I think it might be my favorite part of this whole room. Painting this almost feels like working on an actual canvas. I'm using acrylic paint again. I sanded the surface lightly before I started painting. I'm starting with a neutral base and mixing colors in the same tone for the other layers. This helps give it a more natural antique look. I'm also using a sponge to slowly build up layers and create that uneven textured look. The time lapse for this part is actually pretty fun to watch. I forgot I have to make a pillow. The room is not going to be finished today, so I have one more thing to make tomorrow in the morning, but it should be a very easy project. And tomorrow in the afternoon, for sure, the room will be done. Look at the lights. Look how pretty. If you're still here, just wait a little bit more. Everything is going to be done super soon. If you like this video, please subscribe and like it. Also, let me know what you think of it. How did you like the room? And yeah, thank you for watching. The next morning started on a slightly unpleasant note. First, I forgot to record the entire part where I made the base for the pillow, but basically it's just two rectangles in the size I wanted stitched together with a small opening to insert the filling. And then the pillow cover happened. Don't even ask me how that went. My sewing machine stopped at least 25 times. I kept making one mistake after another, and what I thought would be the easiest DIY of this whole room was very much not. Somehow, after 5 hours, it was finally done. I ended the night by attaching the DIY frame to the base and printing out some art for it. I just printed this out on regular paper, but I have a little hack. I used some Fevicol and a dry brush to create strokes in the same direction as the artwork. As it dries clear, it starts catching light in a really nice way and it looks a lot more like a real painting. Do you see the difference? And now for the finishing touches. Everything is finally done and it's even better than I could imagine. I'm out of breath, I'm very tired, but I absolutely love it. If you like this video, please subscribe. Let me know what else you'd like to see from me. I hope you found some inspiration to redo your own space. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.